You can't always control what happens to you, but you can always control how you react. That's where your real power lies. Most people spend their lives trying to control the uncontrollable. They want the world to bend in their favor. They want people to act right, situations to go smoothly, and life to obey their expectations. But life doesn't work like that. Life will test you in ways that make you question your patience, your peace, and sometimes even your purpose. And in those moments, when everything feels chaotic, your strength isn't proven by how loud you react. It's proven by how calm you stay. See, control isn't about manipulating outcomes. It's about mastering your emotions when outcomes don't go your way. Anyone can stay composed when things are easy, but when life hits you hard, that's when your real character shows up. The way you respond and pressure says more about you than anything else. The person who stays centered when everything around them is shaking, that's the person who truly understands control. Think about it. The moment you let something or someone trigger you, you hand them the remote to your peace. You're saying, here, you decide how I feel today. And once you do that, you're no longer in charge of yourself. You're reacting to their behavior instead of responding from your values. Acting as if nothing affects you doesn't mean you're cold or careless. It means you're wise enough to know that not every battle deserves your energy. You're saving your peace for the things that truly matter. When someone tries to get under your skin, stay still. When a situation pushes your buttons, take a breath. You don't have to respond to everything that demands your attention. Maturity is learning that silence isn't weakness. It's strength under control, because your reaction is your reflection. The calmer you stay, the clearer you think, and clarity always wins over chaos. There's a moment between what happens to you and how you respond. That space right there is where your growth lies. Most people react instantly out of emotion, but those who pause, who breathe, who give themselves a second before they move, they're the ones who master life instead of being mastered by it. The more you practice that, the more peace you protect. You don't owe anyone a reaction. You don't owe every situation an emotional breakdown. You owe yourself peace. And peace doesn't come from controlling everything around you. It comes from controlling what's within you. The world may try to shake you, but you don't have to shake with it. Learn to stay calm, stay grounded, and act as if nothing affects you. Not because you don't feel, but because you've learned to feel without losing yourself. That's what real control looks like. Silence is not weakness, it's control. It's power in disguise. When someone comes at you with anger, disrespect, or chaos, the world expects you to fight back, to match their energy, to prove your strength by how loud you can be. But silence, real silence, is the kind of strength that confuses people because they can't understand how you can stay so calm when everything around you is trying to make you react. That silence doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care too much about your peace to hand it over that easily. When you choose silence over reaction, you're sending a message louder than words could ever say. You're saying, I'm not controlled by emotion, I'm controlled by intention. You're saying, I hear you, I see you, but I'm not coming down to your level. That kind of calm rattles people because most expect drama. Most feed off energy. When you don't give it to them, you take away their power. You hold the remote to your peace and refuse to change the channel just because someone else is uncomfortable with your calm. It's not about being emotionless. It's about being emotionally intelligent. There's a huge difference between reacting and responding. Reacting is instant. It's raw, emotional, unfiltered. Responding takes patience, awareness, and discipline. It means you've taken a moment to step back and ask yourself, is this worth my energy? And most of the time, it's not. Silence becomes your filter. It helps you separate what deserves your voice from what deserves your absence. When you walk away instead of arguing, that's not weakness, that's maturity. When you let someone talk and don't interrupt, that's not fear. That's control. Because you've realized that not every noise deserves an echo. Silence is your way of protecting your peace while the world tries to test it. It's your armor in a world that thrives on reaction. Sometimes the best response is no response. Not because you have nothing to say, but because your peace says more than words ever could. You start to realize that silence teaches lessons anger never will. It humbles you, it centers you, it forces you to listen, not to others, but to yourself. In silence, you find clarity. You find the strength to rise above instead of sink below. People remember how calm you stayed when you could have exploded. They remember how you handled the storm, not how loud you were in it. Silence doesn't make you invisible. It makes you undeniable. Because when you stop explaining yourself, stop defending your peace, and stop reacting to every little thing, that's when people start to notice your presence. It's strong, it's steady, it's unbothered. You don't have to prove your strength through noise. You prove it through composure. Because silence doesn't mean nothing's happening. It means everything inside you is aligning. You're learning to control what you can and release what you can't. And when you master that, you'll realize silence isn't empty. It's full of power. Detachment isn't about not caring. It's about caring the right way, without losing yourself in the process. People often confuse detachment with coldness, as if being calm means being heartless. But real detachment is emotional wisdom. It's knowing how to stay connected without becoming consumed. It's learning to give your best without letting outcomes define your peace. It's loving deeply, working hard, showing up fully, and still being okay if things don't go as planned. That's strength. See, attachment says, I'll only be okay if this goes right. Detachment says, I'll be okay either way. And that's freedom, because when your peace depends on conditions, on people, approval, or success, then you've given away your balance. You've made your happiness negotiable. But when you learn to detach, you stop chasing control and start choosing calm. You stop holding on to what hurts and start trusting what's meant to stay. Detachment doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you've learned to feel without drowning in it. You still care, you still try, you still show love, but you no longer let your emotions dictate your worth or direction. You start understanding that not everything deserves your full emotional investment. Some things, some people, and some moments are just lessons, not lifelong attachments. The truth is, people who master detachment aren't cold, they're clear. They see things as they are, not as they wish them to be. They understand that you can't hold on to peace and cling to chaos at the same time. So they let go, not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. Because letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means creating space for what's real, what's right, and what's ready for you. When you detach, you stop trying to force life to move your way. You stop expecting others to change just to make you feel better. You start accepting people as they are and protecting yourself accordingly. That's emotional maturity. That's peace built from understanding, not control. You learn to say, this situation doesn't define me. This person's behavior doesn't disturb me. My peace doesn't depend on external noise. That's when you take your power back. You'll notice something beautiful when you start practicing detachment. You become lighter. Your days feel less heavy. Because you're no longer carrying everyone's energy. You stop replaying what went wrong and start focusing on what's right in front of you. You respond with grace instead of frustration. You forgive faster, move smarter, and love quieter. Detachment doesn't mean shutting down. It means leveling up. It's realizing that peace isn't found in control. It's found in surrender. You don't chase outcomes anymore. You trust the process. You let things flow without forcing them. You stop proving, stop explaining, stop clinging, and just be. Because when you're detached, you're free. And when you're free, nothing has the power to shake you the same way again. Pressure isn't your enemy. It's your mirror. It shows you who you really are when comfort is gone and control slips through your hands. Everybody looks strong when life is easy, when things go their way, when the plan works, when people agree. But the real test doesn't come in peace. It comes in pressure. When everything's uncertain, when you're tired, when you're tested, when you feel like the world is watching to see if you'll break, that's when presence becomes your power. See, pressure has one goal: to make you react. It wants to pull you out of the moment, make you panic, make you forget everything you've learned. But that's exactly where your strength has to step in. Because when you learn to turn pressure into presence, you don't let the storm rush you. You slow it down. You start breathing slower, thinking clearer, standing taller. You start realizing that calm isn't what happens when things are easy. Calm is what you choose when things are not. Being present in pressure means grounding yourself in the now. It means saying, I may not know what's coming next, but I know I can handle this moment. It's refusing to live in the fear of what could go wrong and instead focusing on what's right in front of you. Because most of the time, the panic isn't in the problem. It's in our thoughts about the problem. When you slow down and stay present, the noise fades. The path becomes clearer. Pressure doesn't break strong people. It reveals them. It shows who can stay centered when everything feels off balance. And that's not something you're born with. That's something you build. Every time you choose patience over panic, every time you pause instead of explode, you're training your mind to stay steady under stress. You're teaching yourself that pressure isn't punishment. It's preparation. Every athlete knows it. Every leader knows it. Every person who's ever grown through pain knows it. Growth doesn't come when it's easy. It comes when you're underweight, when you're stretched, challenged, uncomfortable. Pressure creates presence because it forces you to focus on what matters most. It strips away the unnecessary and demands that you show up fully aware, fully alive, fully grounded. When life gets heavy, don't run from it. Don't hide behind distraction or frustration. Sit with it. Breathe through it. Look it in the eye and remind yourself, this moment isn't here to destroy you. It's here to develop you. The same pressure that breaks glass is the same pressure that shapes diamonds. The difference is how you handle it. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, stop and remind yourself pressure isn't the problem. Panic is. Stay still, stay aware, stay in the moment. That's where your strength lies. That's where you turn pressure into presence, not by escaping it, but by embracing it. Because when you learn to stand still in the storm, you don't just survive it. You start to own it. Confidence isn't about how loud you are, how bold you seem, or how many people notice you. Real confidence is quiet. It's steady. It's calm. It's that energy that walks into a room and doesn't need to announce itself because it's not built on attention. It's built on control. Self-control. The ability to keep your emotions, your reactions, and your energy in check no matter what's happening around you. That's the kind of confidence people feel even when you don't say a word. Most people think confidence means being fearless, but that's not true. Confidence is feeling fear and not letting it make your decisions for you. It's being unsure and still showing up. It's hearing doubt, pressure, or noise and choosing not to let it guide your next move. You don't have to be unshakable to be confident. You just have to be grounded enough to not let temporary emotions change permanent values. That's what real power looks like. Self-control is the foundation of that power. Because if you can't control yourself, you'll always be controlled by something. Your anger, your pride, your need for validation, your fear of rejection. Confidence comes when you stop letting those things drive your life. When you no longer need people to understand you, approve you, or clap for you because you're already secure within yourself. That's when your calm becomes your confidence. The loudest person in the room isn't always the strongest. The calmest one usually is, because calm people aren't trying to prove anything. They already know who they are. They've faced enough storms to understand that composure isn't weakness. It's wisdom. They don't argue with noise, they outlast it. They don't need to react to disrespect. They rise above it. And that quiet control makes people pay attention without you ever having to demand it. Confidence built on self-control doesn't fade when life gets hard. It actually gets stronger because you're not chasing certainty. You're creating stability. You know how to pause before reacting. You know when to speak and when to stay silent. You know that losing your temper doesn't make you powerful. It makes you predictable. And you've learned that sometimes the most powerful move you can make is to stay calm when everyone else loses their balance. People respect control. They feel safe around it. Because control says, I'm not driven by chaos. I'm guided by clarity. And when you operate from that space, your presence changes. You stop walking into rooms needing attention. You walk in carrying peace. And people feel that. They remember that. Confidence isn't about being the best. It's about being consistent. With your emotions, your choices, your energy, it's about mastering yourself before you try to master anything else. When you can do that, nothing outside you can break what's within you. That's the quiet power of self-control. It doesn't shout, it doesn't chase, it doesn't demand, it simply is.